The casket was already closed when he approached me. I was standing alone near the back of the funeral home, watching my brother Marcus shake hands with people I didn't recognize. Distant cousins, business associates, people who probably knew my father better than I did. The lawyer materialized beside me so quietly I actually flinched. "Sarah," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Robert Chen. I handled your father's estate." I nodded, waiting for the standard condolences. They never came. Instead, he leaned closer, and I caught the urgency beneath his calm exterior. "After this is over, you need to see the basement. The one at the house on Riverside Drive. Your father was very specific about this." "The basement?" I repeated, confused. "Why would I?" "Just you. Not your brother. Not your stepmother." He pressed a brass key into my palm. "He made me promise you'd go there before anyone touched his belongings. Before the will reading. It's important, Sarah." Then he was gone, disappearing into the crowd of mourners, leaving me holding a key that felt suddenly heavy in my hand. I hadn't spoken to my father in 3 years. Not since the night I told him I was dropping out of law school to pursue photography, and he looked at me with those cold gray eyes and said, "Then I guess you're on your own." No yelling. No argument. Just nothing. Like I'd ceased to exist. My mother died when I was 12, and after that, my father became a shell of himself. He threw himself into his law firm, into making money, into anything that wasn't being a parent. My brother Marcus fit perfectly into that world. He became a corporate attorney, joined Dad's firm, bought the right car, married the right woman. Me. I was the disappointment. The artistic one. The emotional one. The one who asked too many questions about Mom. When Dad remarried 5 years ago, I wasn't surprised. Victoria was elegant, poised, and 20 years younger than him. She smiled at me during the wedding with teeth so white they looked sharp. Marcus loved her. Kept my distance. At the funeral, Victoria sobbed dramatically into a lace handkerchief. Marcus stood beside her, one protective hand on her shoulder, looking every inch the devoted son. No one noticed when I slipped out. The house on Riverside Drive looked smaller than I remembered. It was the house I grew up in, but Dad had barely lived here after Mom died. He'd moved into a downtown penthouse, left this place half empty, like a museum to a life he wanted to forget. The key fit smoothly into the lock, and the door swung open with a creak that sent chills down my spine. The smell hit me first. Dust and old wood and something else. Something that reminded me of my mother's perfume, though that was impossible after all these years. I walked through the dark hallway, my footsteps echoing. Family photos still lined the walls, but they were covered in a thin film of neglect. There I was at 8, gap-toothed and grinning. Marcus at his high school graduation. Mom and Dad on their wedding day, both looking impossibly young. The basement door was in the kitchen, and I stood in front of it for a full minute before I could make myself open it. The stairs descended into darkness. I found a light switch, and a bare bulb flickered to life, casting shadows that seemed to move. Each step down felt like walking backward through time, through all the years of silence and distance. The basement was exactly as I remembered it from childhood. Concrete floors, exposed pipes, boxes stacked against walls. But in the center of the room there was something new. A desk. And on it, a stack of boxes with my name written on them in my father's handwriting. My hands were shaking as I opened the first box. Letters. Hundreds of them, in envelopes addressed to me at various apartments, dorm rooms, addresses spanning 15 years. None of them had been mailed. I picked one up at random, postmarked from the year I started college. "Sarah, I know you think I don't understand your art. I saw your photos today, the ones you posted online. The one of the old woman at the bus stop made me cry. Your mother would have been so proud. I'm proud too, but I don't know how to say it anymore. Not after I failed her. Not after I failed you both." Another, from 5 years ago. "I drove past your gallery opening tonight. Stood outside in the rain, watching through the window. You were radiant. You looked so much like your mother when she used to paint in the attic. I wanted to come in. Couldn't. How do you apologize for a decade of absence? And another from just 6 months ago. The doctors say I have a year, maybe less. Pancreatic cancer. I haven't told Marcus or Victoria. I'm not sure what terrifies me more. Dying or dying without you knowing that you were never the disappointment. It was. Every day since your mother died, I looked at you and saw everything I'd lost, everything I couldn't save. Pushing you away was the only way I knew how to cope with the pain. I was crying so hard I could barely breathe. There were other things in the boxes. Photos of me I didn't know existed. My first gallery showing, walking to my studio, having coffee with friends. He'd been there, watching from a distance, documenting my life like I was still his daughter, like he still cared. The second box contained legal documents, property deeds, stock certificates, bank statements showing regular deposits into an account under my name, money I never knew about, tens of thousands of dollars accumulating for years. And then I found the safe. It was small, tucked behind the desk, and it was already open. Inside was a USB drive with a label that said, "For Sarah. Watch alone." I had to go back upstairs to find my laptop. The house felt different now, less like a tomb and more like a confession booth. I sat on the dusty basement floor, the laptop balanced on my knees, and clicked the video file. My father's face filled the screen. He looked terrible. Gaunt, exhausted, the cancer already eating him alive. But his eyes were clear. "Sarah," he began, and his voice cracked. "If you're watching this, then Robert did his job and you found what I left for you. I'm sorry it had to be this way. I'm sorry for a lot of things." He paused, took a shaky breath. "After your mother died, I lost myself. Grief does that sometimes. It doesn't just take the person you lost, it takes pieces of you too. You looked so much like her, and every time I saw you I couldn't breathe. It wasn't your fault. It was never your fault. But I was drowning, and I didn't know how to reach out without pulling you under with me." Tears were streaming down his face now. Marcus was easy. He was like me, cold and logical. But you, sweetheart, you were like your mother. Full of light and life and art. I was terrified I would destroy that if I got too close. So I pushed you away instead. I told myself it was for your own good. That you'd be better off without a broken father dragging you down. He wiped his eyes, composed himself. "I was wrong. I know that now. Watching you build your life, your career, seeing you become this incredible woman. I was so proud, Sarah. So unbelievably proud. I wanted to tell you, but the distance had grown so wide, and I didn't know how to cross it." The video wasn't over. His expression hardened. "There's something else you need to know. 2 weeks ago Marcus came to see me. He knew I was dying. He asked about the will. When I told him I was leaving you the Riverside house and half of my estate, he was furious. He said you didn't deserve it, that you'd abandoned the family, that Victoria and he should inherit everything. My blood ran cold. I refused. So Marcus, he forged new documents, had me declared mentally incompetent. Victoria was in on it. They were planning to contest the will, take everything and cut you out completely. They thought I didn't know, but my real lawyer Robert found out and told me." Dad leaned closer to the camera. "That's why I did this. The real will is with Robert. Everything in this basement is documentation of my actual wishes, time-stamped and legally binding. The letters are proof I never abandoned you in spirit, even if I failed you in person. The money in your account is yours, has been for years. And this house where your mother and I built our life, where you grew up, it's yours now." His voice softened one final time. "I know I can't fix the past. I can't give you back the years I wasted being afraid and broken. But I can give you this. The truth, the house, and the knowledge that you were loved. You were always loved. Even in my silence. Especially in my silence." He reached toward the camera, as if he could touch me through the screen. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. Be happy. Make art. Live the life your mother and I always dreamed you'd have. And know that wherever I am, I'm finally at peace, because you're going to be okay. The video ended. The will reading was scheduled for the next morning. I walked in carrying a box filled with my father's letters and the USB drive, Robert Chan at my side. Marcus and Victoria were already seated, both looking smug and composed. Marcus wore Dad's watch, the one Mom gave him on their 20th anniversary. Victoria's nails were freshly manicured. "Sarah," Marcus said with false warmth, "I'm glad you came. We need to discuss the estate." Dad wasn't himself at the end. "The documents reflect that." "Do they?" I asked quietly. Robert cleared his throat. "Before we proceed with the contested documents Marcus submitted, I'd like to present evidence of Mr. James Whitmore's true final wishes." Marcus's face went pale. "What are you talking about?" Robert began distributing copies of the letters, the bank statements, the time-stamped videos. "The real will." "Your father anticipated this situation," Robert said calmly. "He documented everything. The forgery, the incompetency claim, all of it. These documents prove that James Whitmore was of sound mind and that his original will stands." Victoria stood up abruptly. "This is ridiculous. Those could be faked." "They're notarized, witnessed, and dated," Robert interrupted. "And there's video evidence. Would you like to watch it?" The room went silent. I looked at Marcus, really looked at him, and saw something I'd never seen before. Shame. "He knew," I said softly. "Dad knew what you were planning, and he protected me anyway." "Sarah, Marcus started, but I held up my hand. "Did you read any of these?" I held up one of the letters. "Did you know he wrote to me for 15 years? That he was proud of me? That he loved me, even when he couldn't show it?" Marcus looked away. "You thought I was the disappointment," I continued, my voice steady despite the tears. "But I was the one he wanted to save. Not from poverty or failure. From him. From his grief. And in the end, he saved me from you too." Robert read the will aloud. "The house on Riverside Drive mine. Half the estate mine. A letter of explanation to be read publicly. Mine to share or keep private." Victoria stormed out. Marcus stayed, sitting silently as the truth unraveled around him. When it was over, I approached him. "He left you the firm and your share of the money. He didn't cut you out, Marcus. Even after what you tried to do. Because despite everything, you were still his son." Marcus looked up at me, and for the first time in years, I saw my brother instead of my father's shadow. "I'm sorry," he whispered. He nodded. "Me too." I visited Dad's grave 3 weeks later. The headstone was simple, elegant, next to Mom's. I brought flowers, wildflowers, the kind Mom used to love, the kind I'd photographed 1,000 times. I sat in the grass and talked to him the way I should have years ago. "I found them, Dad. All the letters. I know now. I understand." The wind rustled through the trees, and I could almost hear his voice in it. "You weren't the disappointment," I said aloud. "You were just human. Broken and scared and trying your best with what you had left after losing her. Get it now? I forgive you." I placed my hand on the headstone. "And thank you. For the house. For the truth. For loving me the only way you knew how." As I stood to leave, my phone buzzed. An email from a gallery in New York. They wanted to feature my work in their upcoming exhibition on family and memory. I looked back at the graves one more time. "This one's for you," I whispered. "Both of you." I thought my father died without ever knowing me. But in that basement, surrounded by years of unsent words and hidden love, I realized he never stopped trying to protect me. Even from the truth, even from himself. Sometimes love doesn't look like what we expect. Sometimes it's quiet and imperfect and hidden in a basement full of letters that were never sent. Sometimes it's a father who loved his daughter so much that he pushed her away rather than risk breaking her the way grief had broken him. I carry those letters with me now, in a box in my studio. On the hard days when I doubt myself or my choices, I read one. I hear his voice in the words, finally saying everything he couldn't say in life. The house on Riverside Drive is being renovated. I'm turning it into a gallery and studio space. A place where art and memory can coexist, where broken things can be beautiful. And sometimes, late at night when I'm working, I swear I can smell my mother's perfume and feel my father's presence, both of them finally at peace, watching me create the life they always wanted me to have. The life I was always meant to live.